"You can't use your mother for the sacrifice," Baba said, his voice low. "She is already tied." Daniel's heart pounded. "Tied to what?" "To money," the spiritualist replied. "To wealth already taken." The truth fell like thunder. Welcome to African Tales by Chinua. Breathing life into African tales, people in the neighborhood often said the widow was lucky. She had 2 sons, strong sons, grown sons, sons who should have been her pride. Their names were Edwin and Daniel. Edwin was the first son, tall, confident, and very rich. He lived in a fine mansion across town, drove expensive cars, and never worried about money. Whenever their mother fell sick, Edwin was the one who paid the hospital bills. He paid quickly, never bothered how much was asked for her treatment, but only visited her once every month. Daniel was the second son, the one people rarely noticed. He lived in their old family house with their mother. He was the one always present for their mother. But Daniel was not rich, and Edwin, his older brother, refused to assist him even when he begged several times for help. One thing Daniel and their mother never noticed was Edwin's absence. For a man who claimed to love his mother deeply, he only visited on the first Saturday of every month. He always said he was busy, and no one questioned him. Money spoke for him, and in that house money had slowly become louder than love. Whenever Edwin visited, their mother smiled more. She praised him openly, if only she knew. "My son, you are trying," she would say, holding Edwin's hand. "If not for you, I would have been dead long ago." Daniel would be standing nearby, silent, invisible. Sometimes Edwin laughed and said things without thinking. "Brother, you should go and hustle. You can't stay like this forever." Other times their mother sighed and said words that cut deeper than knives. "Daniel, why can't you become like you, brother? You are a grown man, try and help yourself. Make money like your mates." They never said thank you for the fact that he was always there for her. They never praised the sleepless nights. They never counted his sacrifices as anything. At night, when the house became quiet, Daniel would sit alone and think about his life, wondering why his only brother had refused to help him and why his mother wasn't even helping with words herself. And every morning, the insults continued. Poor, lazy, useless. Slowly, something dark began to grow inside Daniel. Daniel stood in front of the mirror and stared at his own face one day. "I will make money," he whispered, "no matter what it takes." Outside, the wind howled strangely, and deep in the shadows of that promise, something listened, something smiled. Daniel's days began before sunrise. He washed his mother's clothes with tired hands. He cooked soft food she could swallow. He cleaned her body gently when she was too weak to move. But kindness, when unnoticed, slowly turns into pain. Each time Edwin visited, the air in the house changed. His expensive perfume filled the room. He always visited with some apples, specially for his mother. "Eat, Mama," he would say. "You need this for quick recovery." She would thank him and say words of prayers for him. At midnight, when everyone was asleep, Edwin would enter Mama's room, cover her with a red cloth, and say some words only he could understand. By morning he was gone without Mama ever knowing what had happened, and like that, the illness would grow worse. Yet no one noticed, no one questioned anything. Weeks later, Daniel decided to visit Edwin and try his luck again. Daniel got to the house with hope still alive in his chest. He spoke carefully, choosing his words like broken glass. He told Edwin he was tired of the suffering, tired of being nothing. He asked his brother to help him stand, to connect him, to set him up the way brothers do. Edwin listened with a calm smile that did not reach his eyes. Then he laughed. "So now you want shortcuts?" Edwin asked. "Do you know what I had to do to become this?" Daniel nodded. "That is why I came to you." Edwin stood up. "No," he said firmly. "You will not ride on my sweat. Go and find your route the way I did." Daniel's chest burned. He stepped closer, his voice shaking. "I am your brother." Edwin's face hardened. "I owe you nothing." He clapped his hands. Two men appeared immediately. "Take this thing out of my sight." Daniel resisted, shouting, begging. Hands grabbed him. His slippers fell. They threw him out like dirt and locked the gate. But the truth was that even if Edwin wanted to help, he couldn't. He is not allowed to. That night, Daniel did not sleep. He sat outside, staring into the dark sky. The moon looked pale. The air felt heavy. Somewhere far away, a dog howled and stopped suddenly, as if something silenced it. Daniel thought about his life. No respect, no money, no voice. He thought about how Edwin walked freely while he was trapped in that house with his sick mother who never saw his effort. He thought about how people only praised Edwin, how neighbors greeted Edwin warmly and ignored him. That was when anger replaced sadness, a dangerous kind of anger. "Money changes everything," Daniel whispered. "Money makes people listen." In the days that followed, Daniel stopped praying. Instead, his thoughts drifted toward stories he once dismissed. Stories people told in hushed voices. Stories about fast wealth and terrible prices. Stories about men who went into the bush poor and returned rich. Soon he began to hear a voice that kept repeating one sentence. "If you want power, it's easy, but you must give something precious." Daniel tried to fight the thoughts at first. Each time the dark ideas crept in, he reminded himself that he was a child of God, that he was not capable of evil. But desperation has a way of giving fear a name, and that name was money. One afternoon, while returning from the market, Daniel overheard two men talking in low voices behind a shop. "He used to be nobody," one of them said, "but after he visited that man in the forest, everything changed." Daniel stopped walking and listened closely. When he heard enough, Daniel walked away, but the words followed him home. The next day, Daniel made a decision he would never escape. He asked questions carefully, slowly, from people who knew the bush paths and the men who did not like daylight. Every answer came with warnings. But Daniel's mind was already made up. He found the place just before sunset, a small hut hidden between thick trees. The air around it felt cold even in the heat. Bones hung at the entrance. Strange symbols were drawn on the ground. Inside sat a spiritualist with eyes too calm to be human. The man looked at Daniel and smiled. "So," he said softly, "you have come for money." Daniel swallowed. "Yes." The spiritualist leaned closer. "Money is easy," he said, "but payment is not." He told Daniel the rule. You must give someone tied to your blood. Daniel's heart raced. His mother, his brother. The room seemed to spin. Outside, the wind rose suddenly, shaking the hut. Daniel did not answer immediately. The spiritualist watched him closely, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light of the hut. The air smelled of smoke and damp earth. Candles flickered even though there was no wind inside. "Choose," the man said calmly. "Money does not wait forever." Daniel's thoughts raced. Edwin came to his mind first, his brother's face, his laughter, his insults, his wealth. Daniel clenched his fists. "No," he thought. "I can't use him. If he dies, who will I prove my riches to? Then his mother, old, sick, weak. Daniel's chest tightened. She has lived her life, he told himself. She suffers every day. Let me just help her and end it all. The spiritualist nodded slowly, as if he could hear Daniel's thoughts. That is the best choice, he said. The ritual will work faster. Daniel felt sick, but he nodded. The ritual began at once. The spiritualist drew symbols on the ground and spoke words that did not sound like any language Daniel knew. He placed a small bowl of dark liquid between them and whispered Daniel's name into it. Suddenly, the man stopped. His face changed. The calm vanished. He stared at Daniel with fear. This cannot be done, the spiritualist said sharply. Daniel froze. What do you mean? He asked. The man stood up quickly and began searching through his charms. He muttered to himself, shaking his head. Your mother, he said at last, his voice low. She is already tied. Daniel's heart pounded. Tied to what? To money, the spiritualist replied. To wealth already taken. The truth fell like thunder. The spiritualist explained everything. Edwin had used their mother long ago. Her strange illness was not natural. It was feeding Edwin's riches. And worse still, Edwin's life was bound to hers. If she dies, the man said, staring into Daniel's eyes. Your brother dies with her. Daniel staggered back. All this time, the hospital bills, the excessive care, the fear in Edwin's eyes whenever their mother worsened. It was not love. Daniel felt cold. And he can't help you because the money is not meant for the family's well-being, the spiritualist said. The spiritualist stepped back. You should leave, he said. This path is already soaked. Daniel ran from the hut. The forest felt alive. Branches snapped behind him. Whispers followed him. His heart beat like a drum. When he reached home, he looked at his sleeping mother and felt something new. Not love, not anger. A dangerous clarity. If I cannot use blood for money, he thought, I will use money to control blood. Daniel did not sleep that night. He sat in the dark, watching his mother breathe. Now he knew the truth. Her sickness was not just sickness. It was a chain. A living chain feeding Edwin's wealth. Daniel's hands trembled. He thought of confronting his brother, screaming. But fear stopped him. Edwin was powerful. Edwin was rich. Edwin would deny everything. Daniel realized something painful and clear. Money had already destroyed their family. He was only late to the game. By morning, his fear hardened into resolve. If Edwin's life was tied to their mother's life, then Edwin would do anything to keep her alive. That fear was a weapon, and Daniel decided to use it. The idea came quietly, like a whisper that felt clever instead of cruel. He would take their mother away, not to harm her, but to force Edwin to pay. That way Daniel would finally have money, and Edwin would learn that power cuts both ways. Daniel planned carefully, drugged his mother, and waited for the night when the house was quiet and the street was empty. That night the air felt wrong. The dogs were silent. The wind did not move. Even the moon hid behind clouds. Daniel wrapped his mother gently and carried her out. His heart pounded so loudly he feared it would wake the whole street. It felt as if the night itself was helping him. He took her to a small room far from town, a place no one would think to search. He made sure she was comfortable. Guilt burned inside him. I am doing this for us, he whispered. You will understand one day. Soon Edwin received the call. A cold voice told him they had his mother. A sum of money was named. A huge sum. The voice on the phone was calm, cold. It told him his mother was alive. It told him the price, a frightening amount, an amount meant to break a man. Edwin's hands shook, not because of the amount, but because he knew what others did not know. If his mother died, he would die too. So Edwin obeyed. He withdrew money and he paid without delay. He paid without complaint. Daniel watched from a distance as the money was delivered. His heart pounded as he touched it. The weight of the cash felt unreal, heavy, cold, almost alive. It was enough. Enough to disappear. Enough to start over. But Daniel did not return their mother home. He made no call. He sent no message. Instead, he moved fast. 2 days later, Daniel took their mother far away, to another state, to a place Edwin would never think to search, a quiet mansion with high walls and locked gates. Meanwhile, Edwin grew very restless and scared at the same time. He sent his men to search everywhere. Hospitals, hotels, empty houses. They drove through the town like madmen. He kept calling his mother's phone again and again. No answer. He called Daniel. Switched off. He tried calling the kidnapper's line, not reachable. Fear wrapped around his chest. His heart beat wildly. Sweat soaked his shirt. Something was wrong, very wrong. Unable to wait any longer, Edwin jumped into his car that night. He drove fast, blinded by panic, thoughts scattered, eyes burning. He did not see the bend ahead. He did not slow down. The sound came suddenly. Metal, glass, silence. When their mother finally gained consciousness, she was confused. "Where are we?" she asked weakly. "At rest," Daniel replied. "At peace." Still confused, Daniel sat beside her bed. His heart raced. His palms were wet with sweat. "I have something to tell you," he said slowly. He told her everything. He confessed. He explained Edwin's wealth, the rituals, the truth behind her sickness. She began to cry softly, shaking her head in disbelief. She wondered how her own son could tie her life to money. Tears soaked her pillow. Suddenly, Daniel's phone rang. He answered it casually, then froze completely. One sentence from the caller drained all the blood from his face. She looked at him shocked. "What happened?" she asked. Daniel paused. "Your son. He died in a car accident." The words hung in the air. Their mother gasped. Her body shook. Her eyes widened in shock. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Daniel stood frozen as her hands clutched her chest. Before he could get her to the hospital, her breathing stopped. Silence filled the room. Daniel stood alone in the mansion, and suddenly everything meant nothing. He screamed. The sound echoed off the walls and came back to him empty. No answer, no comfort, no family. His mother lay still on the bed, her eyes half open. The woman he planned to care for was no more. Money can buy silence, fear, and obedience, but it can never repair a broken family. When love is replaced with power, everyone loses, even the one who thinks they have won. How many people in your life are quietly showing up for you while you're busy praising the ones who only show up with money? This story made you think. Don't scroll past it. Like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And in the comments, tell me, have you ever been the Daniel in your family? Or have you unknowingly been praising an Edwin?